Faith has a new frequency. The Spirit of Huntsville. KHSPLP, Huntsville, Texas. Spirit 94.3.
And Captain Jack joining us today, giving you a little bit of his life. He is a former U.S. Army captain, served in Vietnam, man who is, all about trying to find ways to get things done, and he does that, and he's done it here in our community after moving here 5 or so years ago, got involved with our local VFW post, and going to enlighten us on some things that I didn't know about. As you said earlier, I like the phrase you said, a VFW brat, because I grew up in the VFW. My dad was a post commander. But talk about specifically the auxiliary, because, again, every time I hear the word auxiliary in the VFW, I think of women's auxiliary. That may not be the case.
I told you I learned to shop VFW posts, American Legion posts, whatever, when I was living in California. And one of the posts I visited was Laguna Beach VFW post. And there were only 5 men left. And that was the total
in that
membership of that post.
Wow.
5 very old men. And they had an auxiliary of about 20. And most of those were widows of former members that had passed away. And ultimately, the post finally shut down about a year before I left there. I heard, or maybe after I got here, I got word that they had shut down. So the auxiliary, we don't have an auxiliary here. And it's something that I had wanted to do when I was commander, but I had too many other problems to fix. And so the new commander, Bobby Bernesk, he's taken that on as one of his goals. And I have been providing the promotional support. I'm the webmaster for the Post website, and I also do PR. I do the social media and that kind of thing. Generally, we usually think of it as women's auxiliary, mm-hmm. because it was basically the wives of Post members. But now we have women serving in combat zones. They were there in Vietnam and Korea, but they like nurses, that kind of position. Now we have them doing all kinds of things. And it's just, this is age. As soon as I start talking like that, a story pops in my head, and it's like, tell him. No, it's not on the subject. Shut up. But there was a great story of a girl who enlisted in the Army Reserve, and suddenly she got deployed after only being in a few months.
Wow.
She was deployed for the when we went in to drive the Iraqis out of Kuwait, and they made her a truck driver of one of these articulated tank trucks. It just is 4 wheels, 2 wheels on the cab, 2 wheels under the tank, and then it's got a stiff arm connecting them so that it's a rigid vehicle. And she didn't know how to drive a truck of any kind, let alone something as complicated as this. And he said, don't worry, you'll have an assistant with you. Well, he know anything? No. Well, she didn't have an assistant, and they'd only taught her how to use the forward gears when the campaign took off. And they said, it's okay, you're only going one direction, just follow the guy in front of you. And she hit a landmine, blew a tire out, and the convoy passed her. And she spent the night in the desert, no one in sight.
Oh, my
She's
goodness.
Sleeping all alone. And she's praying, maybe an Iranian or Iraqi will show up and I'll surrender to him. Anything, to being there alone. And the next day, that engineering company comes by and they fix the tire for her. They say, follow the tracks. The convoy tracks are still there. So she's following the tracks. And then she spent another night alone in the desert. And when she woke up, the wind had blown away the tracks.
Oh, no.
So now she's sitting, she doesn't have a compass. She doesn't have anything. And all of a sudden, a flight of Apache helicopters circle her and land. And she has a tank load of exactly what they need. So they fuel their helicopters. And they said, this one guy's going to stay back. He's going to cover you, and he'll show you the way to go. And so they just took her along as their personal fuel depot. It was the craziest story.
She became an unsung hero, though.
No
Didn't
kidding.
realize it.
No kidding. Oh,
Wow.
my God. So, yeah, I'm sorry. So, yes, we have women serving. So a spouse, now we talk in terms of the auxiliary, can be a spouse of a qualified veteran. A qualified veteran is a veteran who served honorably or who is currently serving honorably in the armed forces and has deployed to a combat zone. They have, whenever you deploy into combat, you earn a ribbon that says you served in this campaign. I have the Vietnam campaign medal, and I have 3 little bronze stars and they're battle stars. So I was there for 4 campaigns. So that's my proof. I qualify for the VFW. In any event, so if you're the spouse of a qualified veteran, you can join the auxiliary. So now it's men and women. Then they also have, now that we've learned that, we've also found out in the charter that children and grandchildren of qualified veterans can also join. That the parent of a qualified veteran can join the auxiliary. Siblings of qualified veterans can join. So that gives us we have a much broader audience. You know, when you look at all the people who've served, we're only about 1% of the total population have served in the armed forces. And of those, it's only a minute portion have actually deployed into combat.
What about, I was sitting here thinking, Jack, if you don't mind me asking just as you're talking, because like you said, your mind will wander into stories. My mind wanders away, and then I forget what I was going to ask you. For me, you know, my dad was commander and a life member of the local VFW in Georgetown. I did not serve. My dad is no longer with us. Could I be a part of the auxiliary, or do they have to be active and involved?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
So, yeah, it's, you know, the veterans are going to die, but that does not end your qualification. Now, what does become difficult is proving your qualification. Do you have a copy of your dad's DD-214? And if you do, that document will show that DD-214 and before, like Korean veterans, I think there was a different form number. We tend to talk in the acronyms of the service, and we talk in form numbers. You have to have a DD-214. You have a 201 file. You know, that's in our vocabulary. So DD-214 is a summary record of your service. On there, it gives all the information about who you are, where you enlisted from, date of birth, education level. What were your military schools you went to? What were your skills? What were you assigned to do? What branch of service? All these things are on there, and all the awards you won.
So this wouldn't work right here, Joe. I'm going to show the people real quick just to honor my dad. There's my dad. There's his. That was years ago. I was at our local VFW in Georgetown visiting, and they had my dad's picture on the wall there, which was kind of, it said post commanders previous. And as you were talking, I said, well, I got a picture of him. I know we have those documents somewhere though, but I wanted to show that. That's my dad. So anyway, sorry, keep going. Yeah.
So membership is, and that was a great question to ask about, you know, your dad's gone now, so could you still qualify? Yes.
Well, you never know, you know, where the stories are going to go, and just everything that we go through in life has a story. And Jack, that's what I love about you. I'm just so thankful for the stories that you have, and I'm thankful for your service to our country, and I'm also thankful for your service here to VFW Post 5871 and bringing information about this auxiliary that people can join. Well, I want to go back to that just briefly, because someone may be listening or watching on social media saying, you know, I've been interested. I want to get involved. What all does that entail? What do you do in the auxiliary?
The auxiliary is, they supplement the post. like I say, the auxiliaries will typically be a larger group because of the larger population we can pull from than the post membership itself. And as the post gets older, they've got a little more energy than the older members. So the auxiliary does get involved in a lot of the same things. We work hand in hand on the same projects, but they also have other projects that they are a little better suited for. And they have actually, for example, the VFW has had long time these scholarship programs, essay competitions, Patriots Pen, Voice of Democracy, for junior high or middle school level kids and high school level kids. And they're pretty substantial, up to a $5,000 cash prize for the Patriots Pen for middle school students, and up to a $35,000 scholarship for high school students to go to college or trade school.
Wow.
Which I love that one. And I've been the chairman. I was the chairman of that activity in California, and I've been doing it here. They help with that, and they have also extended those programs into the elementary school levels to get kids involved in patriotic kinds of activities. Anything from coloring to, drawing pictures, making dioramas or something. So they can do a lot of things working with children that some of the old men sometimes are not that skilled at. We're not the nurturing side of the group, especially those of us who have served in combat. We see a kid and it's like, straighten up, kid. Just,
yeah, I need to sit up straight. I'm sorry, Jack.
Yes, that's better. So at any event, so there's many activities, and as a matter of fact, if you go to the website, and we really got VFW5871.org, O-R-G, that right on the landing page, there's a little animation about joining the the auxiliary. You click on that, and it takes you to the entry page about auxiliary. And one of the pages talks about the activities of the auxiliary, and there's a whole bunch of them. And I even subdivided them, and so you click on a category and it expands so you can see different things that are included there. And there's far too many. Just because I built the page doesn't mean I remember the page.
Yeah.
Not at 83. Okay. But so there's the activities, and of course there's the socialization, and there's one other thing that an auxiliary member can do that a non-auxiliary member can't do. If my wife had known about this back when she was trying to encourage me to join, she was pushing me to join, and like most men, we get that little donkey in us going, not a political thing, but, we dig our heels in, no. But she could have joined the auxiliary and led me in.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah.
So I sort of put that in as an additional idea. I even made an animation about that idea, that you're pushing, it doesn't get anywhere. Put your auxiliary hat on and lead them in.
Yeah, I like that.
So there's and again, the socialization. When the guys came back from World War II, it took months to get back home. They were all together crossing on a boat or something, and they had time to decompress. I never forget one comedian at the Improv. He did a story. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he was talking about it. He says, one day my platoon was heading out in patrol, and somebody grabbed me and said, "You're not going." He said, "Why?" He said, "This is your date to go home. It's called DEROS, date expected return from overseas." And he says, "It's your DEROS date." and he totally lost track of it. And so he says they took my weapon and all my gear and threw me on a helicopter, took me to Tonsanute, threw me on a jetliner, and pew. He said 48 hours later, I'm standing in the concourse of the airport in Atlanta, Georgia. And he said I was walking from the gate to the luggage area to get my duffel. And it suddenly dawned me, I didn't know, I was totally disoriented. I stopped. And I'm standing there, and you can smell the jungle on me. I still smell like Vietnam.
Wow.
And I didn't know where I was. And all of a sudden, this guy's in my face screaming at me, "Murderer!"
Oh, man.
So I murdered him. And he was so droll in his presentation. It was so unexpected. I about fell off the sofa into the floor, laughing at that. But we did not have that chance to decompress.
Yeah.
And we did not come back home with our buddies. And it left a lot of problems. It left a lot of problems. And I didn't realize it till many years later that even I had. Mine was a survivor's guilt. I trained to be an infantry officer. One of my first problems to solve was fixing up the casualty reporting for the division. It was a total mess. So I ran into a guy I'd gone through OCS with, Officer Candidate School with, and he was heading down. He's infantry lieutenant heading down to see, take over a platoon in our 2nd Brigade. And I said, well, I get all over the countryside. I'm everywhere. If maybe I'll run into you, we can have beer together. 2 weeks later, I was writing a letter home to his bride. He had been killed in action.
Yeah.
And boy, did it hit me then. That's when I walked to G1. I said, okay, enough of this. I want my platoon. I want my platoon now. And that's when they gave me a base camp defense platoon.
Yeah.
But we need that socialization that we missed. So being a member of the VFW and our spouses, they need to decompress from putting up with us. We are not easy people to be married to, or to be the parent of, or to be the brother of, or the child of. We come back totally different people.
Yeah.
We've had a great pause in our life. I just read this recently. Somebody used this term. It was a pause in our life. Our contemporaries, our peers went off and started their careers, their families, finished education, whatever. And I was gone for 5 years, and 5.5. And I came back with the same problem I had when I left law school. I still didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I still don't. But and you can see from my life that I never did figure that one out. But I had a very bad, I could not go near the Vietnam Memorial Wall. And so our spouses need that opportunity to socialize with other spouses, the children to socialize with other children who are living with a veteran who was in the combat zone. So, yeah, the auxiliary can provide them with the same kind of healing that we need.
Yeah. Well, Jack, I appreciate you bringing all of this to our attention. We'll wrap up here in just a few minutes. Again, Jack Durst, Captain Jack, joining us today. Some very important information, great life stories, and just great leadership with our VFW, and seeing the fruit of those 2 years that you gave it your all, not only giving it your all when you served our country, but continuing to give it your all serving our community, and we're seeing the fruit of that now. We want to encourage you, go to the website online. More information can be found at VFW5871.org. That's VFW5871.org.